What's up, guys? ZackScott here with a Nintendo Switch Pro controller right here, and I have the Nintendo Switch itself right here with the Joy-Cons attached to it. And the question I'm asking in today's video is, do you need a Nintendo Switch Pro controller? Let me go ahead and get that in focus for you guys so you can see what I have here. Do you need a Nintendo Switch Pro controller? I can answer that question for myself, and for myself the answer is yes. Now, I don't know about you guys, but let me know in the comments below. Do you need a Nintendo Switch Pro controller? If you don't know yet, let me explain to you why I think I do, and then you can leave some comments. Let me know what you think. The Nintendo Switch Pro controller is very big, comfortable, very, very similar to other consoles controllers. Very, big buttons, very comfortable. Obviously, right? This isn't a big surprise of a controller. This isn't like, whoa, what a drastic change, In fact, the Wii U had its own Pro controller. The only thing they really changed, this is way glossier, but what they changed is they moved the joysticks into like an Xbox-like configuration. And I kind of liked how it used to be, where the PlayStation was always known for having both of their analog controls down at the bottom, right? And the buttons and the D-pad were at the same level. The Xbox had them diagonally, and that was kind of weird. I was like, what? That doesn't make sense. But once you play with it, it's actually pretty comfortable. And then the Nintendo, with their Pro controller, had them like the analogs were both at the top, and the D-pad and the buttons were level, but at the bottom. And so I was like, okay, yeah, this is like a neat compromise between the two. But ultimately, Nintendo has decided to go with the Xbox form factor with their new Switch Pro controller right here. And before we dive too much into it, I want to talk about kind of the history of the Switch. In my mind, when they first announced the Switch, I was thinking it was going to be a sequel to both the 3DS and the Wii U. Because it's portable and you can dock it, right? And I don't know if they're treating it that way in terms of their marketing or even their strategy, but it truly, in my mind, is a sequel to both. And what you kind of get with it, though, is it feels like a combination of both when you hold it. And the reason why that is, it feels like a mix of the Wii U and a mix of the 3DS. And the reason why that is because the buttons are the size of the 3DS right here. Take a look at these buttons. I have a 3DS right over here. I can't speak to the later versions of the 3DS, like the bigger ones and newer ones, but I have one of the original 3DSs right here, and the button size is on par with the Nintendo Switch button size. Let me try to get these side by side. This is going to be quite the feat. Well, I could use... Okay. Does this help? I don't know, but basically you can tell that they're the same size, right? So when you compare the Switch, just keep this in mind, the 3DS, how that looks. I have so many controllers that I'm trying to put them all over the place. When you keep that in mind, you compare the Wii U to the Switch. The Wii U has bigger buttons, it has a D-pad, it has bigger analog joysticks. In fact, the only real difference that the Wii U Pro controller did was that it just kind of put it in a smaller form factor, made it a little more manageable. This was pretty good. I played Splatoon all the time with this. Of course, that was primarily because I had a screen for the map. But when I was playing Splatoon 2 in the New York City event, I was using this, and it felt great. I now use this for Zelda. It feels great. It feels better than what the Switch provides. And so the difference is that this is a much more narrow, much more smaller form factor, thinner form factor, so your hands don't wrap around it as much. It doesn't have as much to grip. If you take a look at the Wii U, I mean, this is unruly, really, but it feels good in your hands. It has a lot more to grip. The buttons are bigger. Here's the thing. The Nintendo Switch Pro controller has even bigger buttons than both the Wii U Pro controller and the Wii U itself, the Wii U gamepad itself. The buttons are even bigger. These are more on par with the Xbox. And this feels more solid, more sturdy, more firm. And clicking the bigger buttons feels better. Even has bigger triggers than, well, maybe not than this, but bigger triggers than the Wii U Pro controller. So I'm kind of making all sorts of comparisons all over the place here. But the Switch, the buttons are kind of small. And when you hold it, there's not much to grip back here. Even the triggers are kind of thin right here. So it's a little bit I don't know. It's not uncomfortable. It's just not what I'm used to, and maybe it's I got to get used to it. But to me, like hands down, the Pro controller feels better in my hands. This feels kind of like a compromise between the 3DS and the Wii U gamepad. And I think they pulled it off quite well for what they were intending to do. But for longer gaming sessions, for more competitive gaming sessions, I think you're going to, in my mind, I think you might want a Pro controller. The other thing is that the Switch has no traditional D-pad. There is a D-pad here, but they wanted there to be symmetry so that when you actually undock these, one player might have the blue, one player will have the red, and then they each have a joystick and buttons. If they had a traditional D-pad, it would be one player has a joystick and a D-pad, and that wouldn't quite work out. So I understand the design decision. It works out pretty good. It's a great product, but I'm already thinking ahead to like fighting games. Am I going to want a D-pad for that, or for more traditional games that I play? I can't even think right now, but I'm used to using a D-pad for the menu system, and or just waypoints or whatever. But for the so that's what the Pro controller brings us. Now, I've been playing Zelda, the first few episodes of Zelda, with the Joy-Cons, and using these buttons as a D-pad is not a hindrance. But I'll tell you one thing, they give you, and this is going to be like a little bit of a comparison, they give you a grip, so that you can dock your Joy-Cons in. You just slide them in right here, and this gives you a more traditional controller form factor. It is a little bit weird. It feels pretty significant in your hands. You wrap around the whole thing. It feels pretty good, but still kind of the small buttons throw you off, or at least throw me off. And there's not much room to get to the triggers back here. See how it kind of all mushes together in the back? Let's see if I can get a good focus on that. Not really like an amazing place to rest your finger back here. Come on, can we focus? Can we focus, camera? Just for once in your life, camera, focus on something. There we go. Oh, it wants to. There we go. You see what I mean? So not as much room back here to rest your fingers. These things are fairly slim, fairly narrow space, not much of a gap between the two. The thing that gets me about this controller, that the other controllers that I have, even from the Wii U to the Wii U Pro to Xbox to PlayStation to even now the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, is that very stylish, right? Very stylish, very symmetrical, but this thumbstick kind of gets in the way of your thumb when you're trying to play. I hold it. I find myself arching my thumb a little bit more, and I find myself coming in at an angle. Typically, when I hold controls, I'm used to having my thumb vertical, but I can't really do that as much because my thumb hits that. So I have to kind of arch it a little bit or angle it a little bit. For this, when I'm playing, I'm used to. I mean, I don't know how you guys play, but I'm used to having my thumb more vertical like this, and that's the same way for the PlayStation and for the Xbox. But for this, it's more of like I'm pinching a little bit or I'm at an angle a little bit. And what that kind of does is, since these are so narrow and the buttons are smaller, it feels like I'm kind of trying to pinch these two in certain circumstances. I'm kind of trying to like pinch the trigger in this. So it feels much more better. It feels better, in my opinion, in my hand for the Pro controller. It doesn't feel as much as if I'm pinching. It feels more just kind of natural in my hand. Just trying to showcase that. That might be just like a weird thing about me. I don't know if I've just kind of opened myself up, made myself vulnerable. But no. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. So that's one way where it feels better. Now, I was going to compare these grips, right? I got the charging grip, and this is the charging grip. I wish the console came with a charging grip. There's really no difference. Aesthetically, this is like transparent in the back, just like the Pro controller is. If we can just focus, it wants to focus on the background every time. But the cool thing about this is that the charging grip is, I don't know that you need this. You can always just kind of go between and just charge it on the Switch itself. But if you look, as a USB-C port, my camera loves to focus on little tiny port. There we go. Almost. Trust me on this. There's a USB-C port right there. That's the same thing the Pro controller has. So if you're up with technology, like my phone uses USB-C now. A lot more things are using USB-C. I like that the Switch does as well. The Pro has one as well. So you can just plug it in. You can switch between the two. But when these controls are in this form factor, it's fine. I just prefer the Pro controller, and I think that I'm going to need it more for Splatoon 2. It feels way better in Zelda. The other thing, though, is I'm going to present you with another option. I'm not so sure why you need the grip. I don't know if it does anything. Maybe it does, but I was playing Zelda without the grip, and it felt pretty good, too. It reminded me of playing on the Wii, but of course the Wii was connected by a cord thanks to the nunchuck. But this kind of reminded me of playing on the Wii because I could keep my hands as far apart as I want, and I didn't have to have them, closer together. And so this felt good on its own too, and perhaps it felt a little bit more natural reaching the triggers because of the fact that my hands weren't so close. It didn't feel like I was pinching. I was feel like I can kind of spread out, be more loose with it. Just my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but I do want to know your thoughts. So let me know in the comments below. Do you need a Nintendo Switch Pro controller? Let me know in the comments below if you're going to get one, what you think about it, and what you think about the control of the Switch in general. There's the Pro controller close-up once more. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I thought I would just do this video, throw it out there. Like I said, I think my favorite controller right now of all the recent generations is probably the PlayStation one because it feels it reminds me a little bit of a Super Nintendo controller, but also just it feels more suited to my hands. Of course, I spent a lot of time playing the Binding of Isaac with this controller. Everything just feels kind of good in this. My thumbs are at pretty good angles right here without a joystick getting in the way. but this is what I'm used to using most of the day. Is this controller? But the Pro, I think I just turned on my PlayStation. But the Pro controller feels great. It feels really good. The buttons are big. The joysticks move very, very nicely. The triggers are big. It's bulky enough for my giant hands. And the D-pad right here is, I think, going to be crucial for some games. So those are my thoughts. That's my wrap up. Leave a comment. Thanks for watching. One more thing that I just thought of that I forgot to mention. With the Switch Pro controller, you can leave your Switch Joy-Cons on the Switch itself more often. You can dock it like this, and that way when you're playing a game that doesn't require these, like some of the snipper clips kind of requires you to take these off and use them. A lot of the 1-2 Switch does as well. But for the more serious games like Zelda or Splatoon, you'll be using this most of the time. You can leave it docked like this, and then if you ever have to take it on the go, you just pick it up. You don't have to reconnect controllers, or if sometimes you get to an area where you have to enter in text and you don't want to scroll through, you just grab this out of the dock, and then you can use a touchscreen to type in the text, and then just put it back, and then you don't have to worry about sliding these back on to move things around and navigate the menu. Although I guess the touchscreen itself, you can navigate the menu, but you get what I'm saying. If you want to do gaming on the go, you just leave it on, you just pick it up and go. And when you have it docked and you're on your couch, you're in your chair like I am, you can just use the Pro controller normally. Just an idea, just a thought. Thanks for watching.